So the non-authentic ahadith, my knowledge is like they were said to be non-authentic because of the narrative.
Yeah.
Like there were doubts about the memory of the narrator. So is there like no chance that there would be something authentic in that? Like, is it completely rule out that they are like non-authentic?
Yeah. So the brother asked regarding non-authentic hadith, and he said that he heard this is because of the memory of the narrators. And
that's one criteria.
That is one of the criteria. And if it is non-authentic, is there no other chance of it being authentic? So, I mean, this is a very vast topic. It cannot be explained in one sitting or a few moments. There are several criteria for a hadith to be non-authentic. From them is that which relates to the narrators. From them is that which relates to the way the narrators heard this hadith and spread them to their students. There can be a break in the chain. So there are several criteria for a hadith to be deemed non-authentic. That's first of all. Second of all, some of these criteria or errors or these conditions, they make a hadith extremely weak. Ad-da'if al-shadid is called in Arabic, extremely weak. This is a hadith that cannot be deemed authentic. So for example, if a narrator is from the kadhabin, wadda'in, those who used to lie upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who used to make up hadith. So this narrator's hadith can never be deemed authentic. From ad-da'f al-shadid is a hadith that has a shudud, for example. For example, this hadith, this narrator has narrated it on the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hadith marfu. He ascribed it to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this statement. But someone who is more trustworthy than him, who is of a greater level in memorization than him, or a group of narrators of hadith, they have narrated the same statement to be from the statement of the Sahabi. This narrator says his statement of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These group of narrators say this is a statement from the statements of the Sahaba. So in that case, the group is given precedence over one. So this is called hadith shadh, in which there is opposition. Someone who is more authentic or a greater group as opposed to someone who is less or less in number. So this hadith that is ascribed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is shadh. It cannot be deemed authentic. There's no way. Because the correct is that it's from the statements of the Sahabi. This is just examples of the hadith that are severely weak. There's other than this is called a da'f al-khafif or al-yasir. Weakness that is less or little. So these ahadith, yes, they can be deemed authentic. These ahadith can be deemed authentic if this hadith is narrated by several chains. So you have this chain that has a defect that is small, that is not a major defect. And you have other chains that also have other defects, but they're also minor. So a combination of these chains can make that hadith hasan li ghayrihi. And it's something that one can accept. It's acceptable due to these various chains of narrations. Because these chains of narrations give proof that this hadith had an origin. It had a foundation. So the weakness is of various levels, as we said. The severe weakness, it can never be deemed authentic. There's no way. But the weakness that is lesser, so these, if there are various chains, it can be combined to make the hadith hasan li ghayrihi, which is acceptable. Understand? Now. Tayyib, now we return, inshallah, to our topic. After we finished the extremely brief biography of Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, we will now try to briefly study his book, Sahih al-Bukhari. What was the methodology of Imam al-Bukhari in this book? What were his conditions? How did he organize it? Why did this book reach the level that it reached amongst the Muslims? What is the hidden aspect in that? Why did it reach this level? What are the books that have been written in service of this book? What are some of the aspects of knowledge that are hidden in this book? And throughout these lectures, we will try to focus on the differentiating aspects between these 6 books. What is Imam Bukhari known for in this book that Imam Muslim does not have? And he has something that he is known for that Imam Bukhari does not have. This benefits a student of knowledge to know that what these books contain and what differentiates them one from the other. So he knows what to look for. When he has some idea or he wants to search for something, he knows where to refer to so that he can find what he's searching for. So we say, first of all, when we start talking about Sahih al-Bukhari, the first topic we will talk about is the reason for Imam Bukhari authoring this book, rahimahullah. Why did Imam Bukhari author this book? The reason the scholars have mentioned is that Imam Bukhari was in the circle of hadith of his ustad and sheikh and teacher Ishaq ibn Rahuya, rahimahullah, that we mentioned from his great teachers was Ishaq ibn Rahuya. So he was in his circle of knowledge listening to hadith. And Imam Ishaq, by the way, someone asked about Rahuya. His proper name is Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Hanzali. Ishaq ibn Ibrahim, from the tribe of Hanzala, al-Hanzali. So his father's name was Ibrahim, but he is well known by this laqab of Ibn Rahuya, which is said that it was a laqab for one of his great grandfathers. Huh? He was from Faris, yeah, Khurasan. So Imam Ishaq, in this circle of knowledge, while they were narrating hadith and listening to hadith, he just says something from the side of his tongue, as it is said, something that wasn't paid much attention to. He said that if someone from you, he told his students, from whom was Imam al-Bukhari, that if someone from you were to compile just the Sahih Ahadith, just the authentic Ahadith in a book, in a summarized book, in a small book, summarized book that contained just authentic Ahadith. Because until their time, there was no book that contained only authentic Ahadith. As it will come inshallah, Imam Bukhari is the first scholar of Hadith to author a book only containing authentic Ahadith. And he created this field of knowledge in Hadith sciences, or a way of authorship in Hadith sciences, which is called as-Sihah, Kutub as-Sihah, where the scholars compile only authentic Ahadith. Sahih Bukhari, after him came Sahih Muslim, Sahih Ibn Hibban, Ibn Khuzaymah, Mustadrak Hakim, etc., etc. He created this whole field. He is the one who created this science of compiling only the Sahih, authentic Ahadith. And this was from a statement that he heard from his teacher, Imam Ishaq ibn Rahuya, rahimahullah. So this also we benefit that a person might say something of benefit that he does not give much attention to, that he does not give much thought to, but Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala blesses in that statement. And inshallah, Ishaq ibn Rahuya, the reward that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah gets from Sahih al-Bukhari until today, his teacher gets the same reward, because he's the one who told him to author this book. So one should always be giving good advice to the Muslims, always trying to guide them and trying to speak to them with good speech. He doesn't know what the outcome of this speech will become. So Imam Bukhari says, when I heard my teacher Ishaq ibn Rahuya say this, it fell in my heart. From that day, I made the intention that I'm going to complete this task. I will be the one who will compile authentic ahadith in this summarized book. The second topic we will talk about is, when did Imam Bukhari rahimahullah start compiling this book, Sahih al-Bukhari? So we say that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah started authoring or compiling this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, from a very young age. From a young age. For Imam al-Uqayli, he mentions a narration on Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah that he, after completing the authorship of this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, Imam Bukhari presented it to 3 of his major and main shuyukh, teachers, so that they could review this book and give their ruling upon this book. 3 of the greatest scholars that lived at that time. Who were they? Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, Imam Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in rahimahullah, Imam al-Jarh wa Ta'dil, and Imam Ali ibn al-Madini, Imam al-Ilal. So he presented this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, to these 3 great scholars and huffaz of that time, so that they can review this book and give their ruling upon this book. And all 3 of them, they agreed that everything in this book is authentic, except for ahadith. All 3 of them agreed that everything in this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is a great testament from these great scholars, huffaz, that everything in this book is authentic except for ahadith that they themselves differed amongst themselves. Some of them said it's authentic, some of them said no. They differed amongst themselves regarding 4 ahadith. Imam al-Uqayli rahimahullah, who is from the great scholars of hadith, he has a great book, ad-Du'afa, Du'afa al-Uqayli, in which he has compiled the weak narrators of hadith, and it is from the foremost books of weak narrators that a student of hadith should refer to. He says, وَالسَّوَى فِيهَا مَا الْبُخَارِ, that even these 4 ahadith that these 3 great scholars differed amongst themselves, the haqq is with Imam al-Bukhari that they are authentic. The truth is with Imam al-Bukhari that they are also authentic. So from this story, we can try to now frame or bring something into picture how this book came about and when it came about. So we see that amongst these 3 scholars, Imam Ahmad, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ali ibn al-Madini.
It's just a related question. Since Imam Bukhari met with Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah, does that mean he is part of Tabi'ut Tabi'in? Imam Bukhari?
Atba'u Tabi'in?
Yes, the generation after the Tabi'in.
No. Because Imam Ahmad is not considered from the Tabi'in. Yeah. So these 3 scholars, the one who passed away the first from them was who? Yahya ibn Ma'in. He passed away in 233 after the Hijrah. After 1 year passed away, Ali ibn al-Madini, 234. After 7 years passed away, Imam Ahmad, 241. So the earliest of them who passed away was Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in. So this statement means that when Imam Bukhari authored this Sahih and completed it and presented it to these 3 scholars to look into it, it tells us that he completed Sahih al-Bukhari before 233. I mean, that's the least we can take out from this, that he completed authoring this book before the year 233, before Yahya ibn Ma'in passed away. So if we say, for example, he did not present it in the last year. For example, he presented it a year before, 232. So how old would have been the day he presented this? 232 minus 194, the year he was born in? Huh? He was 38. 38 years of age. And this is not the year that he started authoring this book, as we said. This is the year that he finished authoring the book. As a rough estimate. He finished authorship of this book and he was how old? 38. He was only 38. And we have a narration from Imam Bukhari himself in which he says that I have spent 16 years authoring this book. Authorship of Sahih al-Bukhari took how long? 16 years. 16 years. So if we subtract 16 from 38, we have 22. So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah started authorship of this book approximately when he was 22 years of age. When he was 22 years of age, and he finished it when he was 38 years of age, taking 16 years to author this book. And this also gives proof to the great level Imam Bukhari reached in this science and in memorization from a very young age. 22 years of age, and he starts authoring this great book. Well, we also benefit from this that a person should not, or especially the young people, should not look down upon themselves. The muhaddithin, the scholars of hadith, as we will continue to hear, they started seeking knowledge from a young age. And they started this authorship from a young age. So a person should strive hard from a young age to seek this knowledge, and he should not let others deter him or tell him that he's young, or try to put him down. He should have belief, conviction, and he should work hard, put his trust upon Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Also, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he says that he collected this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, from 600,000 ahadith. 600,000 ahadith. And he had with him 600,000 ahadith. We just mentioned he memorized 100,000 ahadith, authentic ahadith. 200,000 non-authentic ahadith. And the other ahadith were written with him in scrolls and in books. So he had a collection of 600,000 ahadith that he had collected from this vast travels that he traveled from east to west. Thousands of kilometers. And he, as we said, heard from more than 1,000 shuyukh, from the kibar, huffaz, aimma of that time. So he had a collection of 600,000 ahadith. From them, he selected the ahadith of this book, Sahih al-Bukhari. From 6,000 ahadith, he selected the ahadith that he put in his book, Sahih al-Bukhari. And as we said, this 600,000 ahadith, they are not texts, they are chains of narration. They mean the isnad, chains of narration. And from the stories that are mentioned about Imam al-Bukhari is that he did not select any hadith from the 600,000 hadith and write it in his book or entered it in Sahih al-Bukhari except that he made wudu before it. Except that he made wudu, or in one narration, ghusl before it, and prayed 2 rakat. Prayed 2 rakat, and then he entered this hadith in his book. We come to a very important point, which is the proper name of Sahih al-Bukhari. This will help us a lot in understanding the methodology of Imam al-Bukhari in this book. Does anyone of you know the proper name of Sahih al-Bukhari? You came, ahsantum, jazakumullah khair. You brought most of the words, some were left and some you changed with other words. But these are most of the words. The proper name of Sahih al-Bukhari that Imam Bukhari himself titled was Al-Jami' Al-Musnad Al-Sahih Al-Mukhtasar. Al-Jami' Al-Musnad Al-Sahih Al-Mukhtasar min umuri Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam wa sunani wa ayyamihi. Al-Jami' Al-Musnad Al-Sahih Al-Mukhtasar min umuri Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam wa sunani wa ayyamihi. This is the name that Imam Bukhari himself selected for his book Sahih al-Bukhari. And this is a very important name. Al-Jami' al-Musnad al-Sahih al-Mukhtasar min umuri Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa sunani wa ayyamihi wa sunanihi wa ayyamihi. And this is a very important title that we will take every word in this title and explain it, and from there you will understand the methodology of Imam Bukhari in this book. There's a benefit here, is that the muhaddithun, the scholars of hadith, they had, or one can derive their methodology in their books by various ways, by several ways. One is that there is a muqaddimah, introduction to this book, that the author himself has written. The author himself has written an introduction, a preface for this book, in which he has mentioned his methodology and the conditions he has followed in this book. And this is extremely rare near the muhaddithin. This is extremely rare. Most of the books of hadith you will not find with it an introduction or a preface. This is something that is well known in our times. In our times, no one writes a book. You can pick up any book. You will see there's a preface and an introduction where the author, he mentions his methodology and his conditions and the way he authored this book. But in previous times, amongst the scholars of hadith, this was extremely rare. Yeah, there are books that have a muqaddamah that we'll mention. From them is Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim has a muqaddamah. Imam Muslim himself authored it. It's a great introduction in which he has talked about his book in detail, how he compiled it, what is the methodology, why he entered certain ahadith, why he left off certain ahadith, why he selected certain narrators, why he left off certain narrators. Sahih Muslim has a great muqaddamah. Imam Bukhari has no muqaddamah. He starts off after the basmala bi Kitabul Wahi, from the first book, and haddathana, he starts narrating the ahadith. So this is one way to find the methodology of the author, to refer to his muqaddamah, this one, to the introduction, this one. The second way is that the author, he might not write an introduction that is part of this book, but he might write a treatise, a separate treatise expounding upon the methodology of the book he has authored. From the examples of that is Imam Abu Dawud, that we'll mention inshallah. Sunan Abi Dawud has no introduction. It starts off from Kitab at-Tahara and Haddathana, and he starts narrating a hadith. But he wrote a separate book, a small treatise called Risalat Abi Dawud ila Ahli Makkah fi Wasf Sunani. The treatise of Abu Dawud to the people of Makkah in explaining or expounding upon his book As-Sunan. He was asked from the people of Makkah, the scholars of Makkah, to explain what is his book, what does it contain, what is its conditions, what is his methodology. So he wrote this treatise that is printed, well known, small treatise that we'll mention inshallah in detail. So this is one way one can know the methodology of a scholar, is to refer to the treatise that he has authored in explanation of the book. From the third ways, there's a book that has no introduction. It has no treatise, like Sahih al-Bukhari. He has no introduction, he has not written anything in explanation of methodology. The third way is the way we are trying to follow now, which is to look at the title of the book. Look at the title of the book. And the muhaddithin, from their way, was that the titles used to be long. It used to contain a lot of words. And every word is a condition that they followed and implemented in their book. Every word that we'll see now in Sahih al-Bukhari, every word that we mention is a condition for the hadith in his book. So this is a way. The fourth way, there's no introduction, there's no treatise, there's no title. Some books don't have a title except al-Musnad, as-Sunan. So the way for finding the methodology, there's no other way except that one reads these books from cover to cover and derives from it the methodology of the author of this book. And this is for of course the great scholars of hadith who are well versed in the sciences, who read these books and gather or derive the methodology and the conditions of the author in this book, such as Imam al-Zahabi, Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, etc., etc. So Imam Bukhari, as we said, we will take this title and talk about this title in detail to to find out what is his conditions and methodology and why this book reached the level that it reached. So, the first word in this title is al-Jami'. What is the first word? Al-Jami'. Al-Jami', it is a specific type of hadith book near the muhaddithin. The muhaddithin, as we said, they have several ways of authorship in their books. The way they compile a hadith, there are several ways of organizing and structuring these books. From them is al-Masanid, Musnad, the books that are known as Musnad Ahmad, Musnad Ishaq ibn Rahuya, Musnad al-Bazzar, Musnad Abi Ya'la al-Mawsili, Musnad al-Tayalisi, etc., etc. Some of you might have heard of these books, or at least the title, Musnad. What does Musnad mean? Yani if someone wants to find a hadith of Salah, a topic relating to the Salah, or a topic relating to a zakat, will he find it in al-Musnad? With ease. Of course he will find the hadith, but will he find it with ease? No. Because the Musnad are books that are organized on the names of the Sahaba. Organized on the names of the Sahaba. So for example, Musnad Ahmad, the first book, Musnad Abi Bakr as-Siddiq. He has compiled all the hadith of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq in one place. Thousands of hadith. Salah, zakat, without any distinction. But the combining aspect is that all of these ahadith are ahadith that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu narrates on Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then comes Musnad Umar ibn al-Khattab, Musnad Uthman ibn Affan, Musnad Ali, then the Musnad of the Ashra al-Mubashirin, Musnad Abi Huraira, Musnad Aisha. You will only find a hadith that Aisha radiallahu anha narrated on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if one wants to find a hadith related to zakat, Salah in Musnad Ahmad that Aisha narrated, he has to read the Musnad of Aisha cover to cover or all the pages until he finds his hadith. Until he finds his hadith. One may ask, why would they author Masanid? What's the benefit? I mean, isn't this difficult? I mean, it doesn't benefit us, for example. We want to find a specific hadith related to a specific topic. We go to the Masanid and there are hundreds of books. Most of them have been lost. Masanid. Some of them have reached us. Musnad Ahmad is the largest book of hadith that has reached us. From way of benefit, I'm telling you. The largest book of hadith that has reached us is Musnad Ahmad. Anyone know how many hadith are in Musnad Ahmad?
800,000.
Huh?
More than 800,000.
40,000 hadith. 40,000 ahadith. 40,000 ahadith. And it is published in 52 volumes. 52 volumes is the largest book of hadith that has reached us. But this does not mean that there were not books bigger than it. From them is Musnad Baqi ibn Makhlad, rahimahullah. This Musnad, sadly, it has not reached us. We know nothing about it. We have no piece of paper from this book that reached us. It has been destroyed, like the thousands of literature of the Muslims that has gotten destroyed in various occupations and wars and etc. that happened throughout 1400 years of the history of Islam. Sadly, the Muslims have lost a great deal of knowledge. So this book has not reached us. This was the greatest Musnad that was ever authored. Musnad Baqi ibn Makhlad. The scholars have mentioned that it was in thousands of volumes. Thousands of volumes. And he was from the great Imam Hafiz of Andalus, of Spain. Rahimahullah.
Just on this, when the scholars say this, we lost a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, we did not lose the two revelations.
Yeah.
Is that a correct statement? Obviously, that has to be reconsidered.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the religion is preserved. The religion is preserved. The complete religion has reached us. Everything the Muslims need, and from that time until the day of resurrection. But as we said, when the scholars talk about 40,000 ahadith, they mean asanid. So the ahadith, the usul, the foundation has reached us. The texts have reached us. But that same hadith could have been narrated by another sahabi that might not have reached us. Understood? The text has reached us, that which we need. But it has reached us from such and such Sahabi. But the Sahabi who narrated also heard it from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He narrated that Muhaddith narrated in his book, that maybe has not reached us. But it doesn't hurt us because the text, the foundation has reached us. What several chains of narration benefit is that it gives strength to a hadith. If a hadith is narrated by several people, several chains of narration, it raises its rank. A hadith that is narrated by several people, it gives proof that there was a foundation, and it is exactly as it is being narrated. In difference to a hadith that only one person narrates. Even though the hadith that one person narrates, if it's from the Imam al-Huffaz, the Muslim, it is obligatory upon us to accept it. It is obligatory upon us to accept it.
So what's the proof that for your statement that we have got everything that we need?
This is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. And a Muslim
in terms of hadith.
Hadith, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. And for a Muslim to reject or have doubt in even one letter of the Quran is rejecting the entire Quran. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. That we have revealed upon you a dhikr. We have revealed upon you a dhikr. He did not say al-kitab, a dhikr. And we have took the responsibility of preserving it until the day of resurrection. All the scholars from the times of the Sahaba, Tabi'in, the Salaf, all of them are united that dhikr is the Quran and the Sunnah. They are both the revelation. The Quran and Sunnah, both of them are revelation from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. That the Prophet ﷺ, whatever he says, it is not something of personal desire or personal say. Rather, everything that he says is revelation from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala.
Could you repeat the title of the biggest Musnad?
Musnad Baqi ibn Makhlad. Baqi ibn Makhlad. He was from the great Aimma Huffaz of Andalus of Spain. Rahimahullah.
So Musnad Ahmad was based on Sahabi Ahmad?
Musnad Ahmad is organized based on the names of the Sahaba. Based on the names of the Sahaba who narrated those ahadith. So you won't find Kitab al-Salah, Kitab al-Zakat, Kitab al-Hajj in it.
So it's one book that has multiple Sahabas.
Organized, every Sahabi's hadith is gathered in one place. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, Masanid. From the books of hadith are al-Jawami', Jami', which is Sahih al-Bukhari. What is al-Jami'?
Like certain chapters, like it should have 8 chapters.
Ahsantum, Jazakumullah khairan. Al-Jami' is a book of hadith that contains all of the chapters related to knowledge. Every chapter, every type of hadith basically is part of al-Jami'. So you have a hadith that are related to i'tiqad, belief. You have a hadith that are related to ahkam, the fiqh, the jurisprudence. You have a hadith that are related to seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his biography. You have a hadith related to fadail sahaba. Those are hadiths that mention the status of the companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have a hadith that are related to tafsir of the Quran. You have a hadith that are related to the science of the hereafter, alamatu sa'a, etc., etc. Yani all types of hadith are gathered in this book, al-Jami', al-Jawami'. And this is different than as-Sunan, as we'll see. Why is it called Sunan Abi Dawud? Why is it called Sunan Abi Dawud, and why is Tirmidhi called Jami' at-Tirmidhi? Understood? Sunan Abi Dawud, Jami' at-Tirmidhi. One cannot say Jami' Abi Dawud and Sunan at-Tirmidhi. Even though some people say Sunan at-Tirmidhi min bab at-tawassu', but the proper terminology and name is Jami' at-Tirmidhi. Why? Because Tirmidhi contains all of these ahadith. As far as Sunan Abi Dawud, The books of Sunan only contain ahadith that are related to fiqh, jurisprudence, that are related to ahkam, tahara, salah, zakat, hajj, etc. You will not find in the books of Sunan ahadith related to the seerah, ahadith related to the fadail al-sahaba, ahadith related to tafsir, ahadith related to i'tiqad, ahadith related to alamat al-sa'a, targhib wa tarhib, etc. You will not find it in the Sunan. Understood? So Imam Bukhari named his book Al-Jami', which means that it contains every type of hadith. Every type of hadith. And since we're on the topic of Al-Jami' and that it contains every type of hadith, I think it is beneficial to mention or talk about an important topic in Sahih al-Bukhari, which is from the distinguishing aspects of Sahih al-Bukhari in comparison to the other books, which is the topic of the tabweebat of Imam al-Bukhari, the chapter headings, the chapter titles of Imam al-Bukhari. And this is something that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah is known for, well known for. Tabweebat, tabweeb meaning to organize something upon abwab, upon chapters. To organize something upon chapters. So we'll talk about tabweebat al-Bukhari, and this is something that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah specifically is known for in comparison to the other muhaddithin. And it has been said and repeated by the scholars that fiqh al-Bukhari fi tarajimihi. Fiqh al-Bukhari fi tarajimihi or tarajim abwabihi. Yeah, meaning the fiqh, the jurisprudence, the understanding of Imam al-Bukhari is present in his chapter headings. Tarjama is a heading, chapter headings. Imam Bukhari did not explain his book, Sahih al-Bukhari. The hadith that are mentioned in his book, he did not write an explanation to it. The scholars have come after that, we'll mention, that have wrote great explanations. What was the position of Imam Bukhari with this ahadith? What ruling did he derive from this ahadith? It is mentioned in his chapter headings. One can refer to the chapter headings and he will find what was the fiqhi position of Imam Bukhari regarding these ahadith. But it is important to note that there are two types of chapter headings in Sahih al-Bukhari. And we mentioned these issues so that the student of knowledge, when he reads these kind of books, he knows these issues and he understands these issues. The tabweebat of Bukhari, the chapter headings of Bukhari are of two categories. The first is tabweebat zahira bayyina, that are apparent, that are clear. The hadith, the chapter heading is in accordance with the hadith. The heading of the chapter is in accordance with what is mentioned beneath it from the hadith, the text of the hadith. There's no contradiction, there's no ambiguity. It is clear. The chapter heading matches with the hadith. This is no problem. This is wadih. This is something no one needs to worry about. The other category of chapter headings are those chapter headings that do not match with the hadith that are mentioned in that chapter. So Imam Bukhari will narrate a hadith, the text of a hadith, and when you read the chapter heading, there's no link. There is no link between these chapter headings and that text. And this is a topic that the scholars of hadith since that day, since Imam Bukhari rahimahullah completed his Sahih until now, have discussed amongst themselves. And scholars have written specific books trying to find links between these chapters in a hadith. We will mention that inshallah. That they have written specific books just to link these chapter headings that are problematic in their view. That it does not coincide and link with the hadith in it. So they have written books trying to find the link between the chapter headings and the hadith beneath it. Understood? So from that, for example, is the chapter heading of, you will find in Sahih al-Bukhari, Bab Tazweej al-Mu'sir alladhi ma'ahu al-Quran wal-Islam. The chapter of marrying off a poor person, marrying with that which he has of the Quran memorized. As we know, the Muslims are ordered, the Muslim man is ordered to pay al-mahar. Mahar, when he marries somebody, the man is, the groom is to pay the mahar to the bride. But in some instances or circumstances, the person who does not have anything of wealth, then he can use the Quran that he has memorized as a mahar. And this is established from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He married off one of the Sahabi who could not even find a metal ring. He was so poor, he could not even find a metal ring. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, do you have any surah memorized, anything from the Quran? He said, yes, so and so. So he said, I marry you off to such and such Sahabiya based on this surah or these surah. Teach her that surah and surah. This is your mahar. Okay, so Imam Bukhari, he mentions this chapter. The poor person marrying with the Quran that he has memorized. What is the hadith that he mentioned? Does he mention this hadith that I just told you in this chapter? This hadith is authentic. It's found in Sahih Bukhari, but in another place. Does he mention this hadith in this chapter? No. He mentions a hadith in which Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he says that كنا نغزو مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس لنا نساء, that we used to travel in Allah's path with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we did not have with us our women, our wives. فقلنا يا رسول الله ألا نستخسي. So we asked permission from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for al-khisa. Al-khisa is castration. So they asked permission from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to not fall in sin, to perform castration. So the Prophet Muhammad, so Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu says, فَنَهَانَا عَنْ ذَلِكَ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade us from castration. He forbade us from castration. So what, can someone tell me, what link does this hadith, in which there is forbiddance from castration, what link does this hadith have with a poor person marrying with that which he has of the Quran? Naam.
Yes, both could have a common instance of a man being mahroom, يعني unable to fulfill
his desire. So these kind of chapter headings, these are found in Sahih al-Bukhari, and the ulama have written books in trying to find links between these chapter headings and these ahadith. We say that the ulama mention about this specific chapter and this hadith that Imam Bukhari has this chapter heading, or made this chapter heading, to show that the young people, there's no way that they can avoid marriage. There's no way that a young person who has desires can avoid marriage. And marriage is something that's a necessity in Islam. It is part of the religion. And with this, even though it is something that is part of Islam and there's no living without it, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has forbidden the Muslim from falling in a zina, from falling in fornication. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he forbade them from castration, Imam Bukhari took from this that this will be a great mashaqqa upon the Muslim. And this will be severe discomfort and a burden. This will be a burden upon the Muslim. He's been ordered, or marriage is something he cannot live without, and he cannot fall in zina, and he's been forbidden from castration. Understood? So he made this chapter heading as something that leads, or what is the makhraj from this problem? What is the solution of this problem? That if someone is poor, he does not have mahar, then he can marry with that which he has of the Quran. He has been ordered to get married, he has been forbidden to commit zina, he has been forbidden to commit castration, and the only thing that is stopping him is al-mahar, money, financial means. So he can marry with that which he has of the Quran. So this is the fiqh of Imam al-Bukhari that he has put in his chapter headings, that a person cannot understand except with great contemplation and pondering and researching. And we say that why would Imam Bukhari bring a chapter heading that is not clear, that is not apparent? Is there a reason for that? Isn't something being clear desired? And it is desirable that you say a speech that is clear, that is apparent. You do not come with speech that has ambiguity, that is not clear. So thus Imam Bukhari rahimahullah does not know this. Why would he bring these kind of chapter headings that are not clear, that do not link with the hadith?
Perhaps these hadiths were linked together during that time when they were teaching the people.
It was clear to him, but it's not clear to us.
Ahsantum. This is one of the answers. This is one of the answers, that from the great status that these ulama reached in their knowledge, it was something that they understood and they thought others understood. But when people like us come along, who do not understand anything from knowledge, even the clear becomes ambiguous for us. Even the clear needs to be explained. And the ulama, they have a saying in Arabic, al-ma'ruf la yu'arraf. That which is clear is not explained. And when someone wants to say, explain to me what Makkah is, that which is clear cannot be explained. So one of the answers is that this was clear to them and it has become ambiguous to people like us, or those who came after them. One of the main answers, the scholars have mentioned, is that this is the way the muhaddithin, and they use this a lot, to make a student of knowledge work his brain, to research, to ponder, to think. This was from the way they used to teach. They wanted a student of knowledge to tire himself in seeking knowledge so that he can reach a level. If everything is given to him, he will not reach it. They wanted him to think, to ponder, to combine, to read, to research, so that he can derive the fiqh in this abwab. And this is not something new and strange. Imam Ibn Hibban, every one of you, I'm sure, has heard of the book Sahih Ibn Hibban. Everyone has heard of the book. The Sahih Ibn Hibban that is published, and it has several editions. It is not the way that Ibn Hibban wrote it. It is not the way that Ibn Hibban, rahimahullah, structured it. One of the scholars were much after him, after centuries, in the 700 or 800 Hijri, Ibn Baliban. Ibn Baliban, he is the one who structured Sahih Ibn Hibban upon Kutub and Abwab, Kitab al-Tahara, Kitab al-Salah, that you find today. So that the people can easily benefit from it and refer to it and research it. But Ibn Hibban did not write this book this way. And we used to think, as Sharik mentioned, that much of the literature of the Muslims has been lost. But this is not something that we can say with guarantee. Alhamdulillah, even today, we find books, manuscripts in various parts of the world that people used to think they are lost, and we find them, alhamdulillah. Several books have been published in the last 5, 10, 20 years that the scholars used to think, the Muslims used to think they have been lost. And alhamdulillah, someone went to a faraway place in Germany, in Turkey and Uzbekistan, and they found the manuscript of the book. They found the manuscript of the book. And there are several examples of these books that have come and have been published in the recent years. So from them was Sahih Ibn Hibban. The ulama used to think it's lost. The original book is lost. And it wasn't for Ibn Baliban, Sahih Ibn Hibban, we wouldn't have it amongst us. Until 3-4 years ago, they found Sahih Ibn Hibban, the original manuscript. The original manuscript was found, and now, alhamdulillah, it is published. So the proper name of Sahih Ibn Hibban is at-Taqasim wal-Anwa'. At-Taqasim wal-Anwa'. So he structured his book upon Taqasim and Alwa. He would say at-Taqsim al-Awwal, an-Naw al-Awwal, An-Naw al-Thani, An-Naw al-Thalith, at-Taqsim al-Thani. It is a structure that is not like any book of hadith. It is a structure not unlike any book of hadith. It's not masanid, it's not abwab fiqhiyya, chapters of fiqh. It is something totally different. And he mentioned the reason for this. Imam Ibn Hibban, in one of his books, he talked about Sahih Ibn Hibban, and he mentioned the reason. He said, I purposely found a way, and he was from the geniuses of this ummah. All the muhaddithin were. There were people who were geniuses. He said, I purposely thought of a way that I could structure my book in the most difficult way possible. I thought of the most difficult way possible, and I structured my book based on that. Why? So that I want the student of knowledge to struggle in this knowledge. I want the student of knowledge to struggle like we struggled. Nothing is given easy. We are memorizers. I want him to memorize. There's no way he can find a hadith in my book except that he memorizes it. So they wanted hifz to continue. They wanted to preserve this blessing that Allah had blessed Muslims with, the blessing of memorization. And when the Muslims started relying on papers and written, the hifz became weak. So they wanted to preserve this. So he said, there's no way a person can benefit from a book except that he memorizes it from cover to cover. So this is something that the muhaddithin used from past generations. So Imam Bukhari, one of the big reasons that the ulama mention about this tabwibat is that he purposely did this so the student of knowledge, he starts thinking, contemplating. So this is one of the main reasons that the ulama have mentioned about these tabwibat. Now,
What was the name of the book again?
At-Taqasim wal-Anwa'. And it is printed, alhamdulillah, almost 1 or 2 years ago. The book has been printed in totality.
What did Ibn
He rearranged this book upon abwab fiqhiyya, kitab al-tahara, kitab al-salah, kitab al-zakat, so that a person can benefit from it.
Where did they find it?
Huh? No, he reached him.
Oh, that other book. Where did they find it?
I don't remember now, but they found the manuscript of the book in one of the libraries.
Okay, just one question. I know we've been going to the Bukhari.
Yeah.
What is the true number of, without multiplication of hadiths, what's the true number of all of the hadiths ever collected? And we can say these are saying like 50,000, 100,000. Is there a number?
You will be surprised. I mean, this is a very vast, important question. That how many ahadith are authentic? How many ahadith are authentic?
Out of all
Out of all the ahadith that are present amongst the narrative. And people, as you said, think of it as a great number. As a huge number. But this is something that only the scholars who have vast grasp of the Sunnah, who have read most of these books and collected and memorized, they are the ones who can let us know. It is not something for us that we can know in our times. So from them was Imam al-Zahabi, rahimahullah. Imam al-Zahabi was from the ulama of al-Istiqra' tam. He had knowledge of hadith and books with him that it didn't reach nobody in his era, in his time. And after him came Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He had manuscripts and books that he mentions, as we will mention inshallah soon, that have not reached us. Hundreds of books have not reached us, but he had in his possession. So Imam al-Zahabi, he has a very well-known statement about the ahadith, the sunnah. How much is it? What is the number of ahadith? So he says that the mutun, as we said, we talk about asanid and mutun, 600,000, 100,000, these are all asanid. The text established texts, he said they are almost 4,000 in number. 4,000 in number.
I know that you have worked with Sheikh Ziaur Rahman.
No. So I'll get to it. So 4,000 in number. This is his research. That the texts of the Sunnah are 4,000 in number. And the Quran is how many ayat?
6,000.
Not a big difference. Not a big difference. The Quran was revealed on the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in 23 years. And the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is his lifetime of 22 years when he was blessed with Islam. So he says it's 4,000. Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, he mentioned that from his wishes and desires is to compile all the authentic ahadith. As we'll mention in Sahih al-Bukhari, we will come from the word al-Mukhtasar in his title, that he didn't compile all the Sahih hadith on purpose. He only compiled something that is comprehensive, something that is summarized. So Imam Hafiz ibn Hajar said that from my wishes and desires is that someone comes along who compiles all the Sahih ahadith. So he couldn't do it in his lifetime. Some scholars tried to do it after him. They couldn't complete it until our era, with the various blessings that Allah has blessed us with, computers and technologies, etc. This has become easy, or much easier than the past, even though of course we don't have to agree with every single hadith. As scholars of hadith from past, they have differed in a hadith that we just mentioned, 4 hadith, the 3 scholars differed in. So a student of knowledge who is well versed in this science, he can differ with the ruling of another student of knowledge or scholar. But this gives an idea. So from the books that came about in our times is a book called Al-Jami' Al-Kamil Al-Shamil. Al-Jami' Al-Kamil Al-Shamil, which was authored by our Sheikh Diya al-Rahman al-Azami, rahimahullah, who passed away 2 years ago on Yom Arafah. On Yom Arafah in Medina, and he was buried in Al-Baqi on the night of Eid al-Adha. Diya al-Rahman al-Azami. He has a very strange story in life. He was born a Hindu, a non-Muslim, in India, in Azamgarh, which is description al-Azami, which is a city in the northeast of India. And he accepted Islam after reaching 20 years or more than that. Then he sought knowledge with the Ahle-Hadith in India. Then he was blessed with acceptance to the Jamia Islamiyah of Medina during its inception of the first early years. And he settled in Medina. He completed his PhD in Hadith Sciences from Jamia Islamiyah, and he was blessed with Saudi nationality. He was granted the Saudi citizenship, and he used to teach in our faculty of Hadith. This was before we were born. And he was also the head of the department of the faculty of Hadith. Our scholars today in the faculty of Hadith, they are all students of him. And he retired, and he spent 20 years in authoring this book after retirement. And this was a thought of his since the day he accepted Islam. He used to always say this, and this is recorded, I think, even you can find videos of him saying this, that when I accepted Islam, I found a book that has the kalam of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, the Quran. I used to hear about the Sunnah, but I couldn't find one book that I can say or give to a non-Muslim like who wants to accept Islam like me and say this is the Sunnah. So this was the reason he compiled this book. So this was a thought process he had, or idea he had since the beginning, but because of various busyness with teaching and he has several other books, mashallah, he couldn't author it. When he retired, he closed his doors. 20 years he didn't travel from Medina. He didn't leave Medina. Rather, he used to dislike anyone visiting him. Scholars would come, they would contact me, I would contact him, he would refuse, most of them. From the morning until the night, he was busy in authoring this book. After 20 years, he completed this book, and this has been published by Darussalam in 14 volumes. Al-Jami' Al-Kamil Al-Shamil. And in this book, regarding the topic, How many ahadith does he have? He tried to collect all the authentic ahadith. So he has almost 16,000 ahadith. 16,000 ahadith. And of course there are repetitions, because he will repeat a hadith in several chapters based on the ruling that is found in it. Some ahadith, they have a lot of rulings. So he'll repeat that based on those chapters. So this is just a rough estimate regarding the question of the brother, how many authentic ahadith. So they're not some big number that the people claim or try to create doubts that 1 million, hundreds of thousands, and we don't have, the biggest book is Musnad Ahmad, 40,000. So the sunnah has been lost, the ahadith have not reached us. So this is all falsehood, and it can be simply answered by these answers. Now,
Authentic narrations, right?
only authentic ahadith. Now, so we continue. As we said, the scholars have specifically focused on this issue of the tabwibat of Bukhari, the problematic chapters or the ambiguous chapters that are found in Bukhari, and they have written several books. From them are 3 very important books, if someone wants to read and benefit. Al-Mutawari ala Tarajam Abwab al-Bukhari. Al-Mutawari, which is of a scholar, Imam of Hadith called Nasiruddin ibn al-Munayyir. Nasiruddin ibn al-Munayyir. The second book is Munasabat Tarajam al-Bukhari. Munasabat Tarajam al-Bukhari of Ibn Jama'ah. And the third book is Sharh Tarajam Abwab al-Bukhari. And this is the most vast and most famous book in this field. Sharh Tarajam Abwab al-Bukhari. Explanation of the chapter headings of Imam Sahih al-Bukhari, which is by Shah Waliullah ad-Dahlawi. Shah Waliullah ad-Dahlawi, who is from the great scholars of the Indo-Pak subcontinent, who passed away almost 300 years ago. This is a book he authored in Arabic related to the chapter headings of Imam Sahih al-Bukhari. Munasabat Tarajam al-Bukhari of Imam Ibn Jama'ah. Then we move to another topic, which is the arrangement of Sahih al-Bukhari. How did Imam Bukhari arrange this book? We said it's jami', so it contains all types of ahadith, every type of hadith. So how did he arrange this ahadith? So we said that he started the book off with Kitab Badil Wahi, the book of the beginning of revelation. And the first hadith that he narrated in this book is the hadith, well-known hadith, innamal a'malu binniyat, that actions are by their intentions. And the last book in Sahih al-Bukhari is Kitab al-Tawheed, the book of al-Tawheed. And the last hadith with which Sahih al-Bukhari ends is the well-known hadith, Kalimatani khafifatani ala lisani thaqilatani fil mizani habibatani ila rahmani subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanallah al-azim. That 2 words or 2 statements are very light on the tongue and heavy on the scales of good deeds in the hereafter, and they are beloved to Ar-Rahman, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and they are Subhanallah wa bihamdi, Subhanallah al-Azim. The scholars have tried to derive various benefits from this. So some of them said that he started off with this book, Badil Wahi, the commencement of the revelation, to show that his book will contain this revelation, the Sunnah. It will contain the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he started off with the hadith, innamal a'malu binniyat, that actions are by intentions, to remind himself and the reader to correct his intention in seeking this knowledge, to correct his intention in seeking the knowledge of hadith. And he finished off with Kitab al-Tawheed, the book of al-Tawheed, to show that this is the foundation. This is the foundation upon which actions are based, are accepted or rejected. If there's no Tawheed, the actions are not acceptable near Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. And he finished a hadith off with Kalimatan, this hadith, the 2 statements hadith, to show that the actions of a Muslim will be weighted on the scales on the day of resurrection. And every person is to be held accountable, and he will be judged on his actions. And the other ways the scholars have mentioned or talked about these. Why did he start off with this hadith and ended with this hadith? The second word in the title is al-Musnad. We said al-Jami', finished with al-Jami'. The second is al-Musnad. Al-Musnad. Okay, we have a problem here, which is that we just said al-Masanid, Musnad, the book is organized on the names of the Sahaba. Every Sahabi's hadith is gathered together. Is Sahih Bukhari organized that way? No, we just mentioned it's organized based on books and chapters. Badil Wahi, Iman, Tahara, Salah, etc. So what does he mean by al-Musnad? Huh? Ahsantum, Jazakumullah khair. He means another meaning that the muhaddithin use, which is that I will only mention Musnad hadith in this book. This book contains only Musnad hadith, not that it is organized on the way of the Masanid, rather the hadith in this book are all, they are Musnad. Musnad meaning they are all muttasil and marfu. The chains of narrations are connected and they are narrated on the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what al-Musnad means. That I will mention a hadith in this book that are with connected chains of narration until Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this also, there's a benefit in this, that some books you will find they're called Musnad, but they're not arranged according to the way of the Masanid. So the authors, they mean this meaning of Musnad, that the hadith in this book, they are with connected chains of narrations upon the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such as what? Musnad al-Darimi. From the 9 books of hadith, we are talking about the 6 books. The scholars add 3 books to it and they call it the Kutub at-Tis'a, the 9 books of hadith, which is Muwatta Malik, Musnad al-Darimi, and Musnad Ahmad. Musnad Ahmad. Musnad al-Darimi, even though it's called Musnad, it is organized on the way of the Sunan. It has chapters and headings. So Imam Darimi also means this meaning of Musnad. Understood? So when Imam Bukhari means this meaning, that every hadith in my book is with a connected chain of narration on the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we take from this that the authentic ahadith that he wants to compile in this book are only those that are mentioned with authentic chain of, with a connected chain of narration on the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ahadith that he mentioned in this book that are not on this condition are outside the realm of the condition of being authentic. They can be authentic and they cannot be authentic. Understood? So from them is example the hadith that is not connected, mu'allaq. Al-mu'allaq, al-hadith al-mu'allaq. Mu'allaq means that the author of the book, the muhaddith, Imam al-Bukhari, he has hidden part of the chain of narration. One or more men from the chain, from the narrators of this hadith. So either they can hide their scholar who they heard the hadith from. So Imam Bukhari, instead of saying haddathana, that I heard my shaykh narrate to me, he would remove or hide the name of the shaykh and mention the shaykh above him. The shaykh, his teacher's teacher, but he will use the word qala. Qala, yani so and so said. He will not say he narrated to me, because this will be falsehood. He will say qala. And this, hiding these men, he can hide his teacher, until he reaches the Sahabi. So some of the mu'allaqat you find in al-Bukhari, he will say qala Umar ibn al-Khattab. There's no chain from Bukhari until Umar ibn al-Khattab. Of course, Bukhari did not meet Umar ibn al-Khattab. He did not see him. He lived a century after him. So this is mu'allaq. He has hidden the chain of narration and narrated it or ascribed it to the sayer of this statement, qala Umar ibn al-Khattab. Or even the Sahabi, they can hide it and say qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This hadith is not with a chain of narration, it's a mu'allaq. Understood? So the mu'allaqat, this is something that Imam Bukhari is known for also, as we said, tabwibat. He is known for his tabwibat. This is something that distinguishes him from the other books of hadith. From that which distinguishes him from the other books of hadith are the mu'allaqat.
So it does not have mu'allaqat.
Imam Bukhari is the one who thought of this way, and it is filled with mu'allaqat. We will mention the numbers exactly, how many there are. Sahih Bukhari has mu'allaqat. But as we mentioned, Imam Bukhari with this title, he wants to tell us and show us that these mu'allaqat are not part of the condition of a sahih. The chains that he has hidden on purpose, they cannot be deemed to be from Sahih al-Bukhari. They can be Sahih and they can be da'if. Understood? The only ahadith that are Sahih, that he is upon his condition, are the musnad. There are muttasil, marfu. These are upon the condition of his book. The mu'allaqat he has mentioned, as we will mention, for various reasons. And this is something also that gives proof to his genius. He has specific reasons for mentioning mu'allaqat. Why would he mention that? He has specific reasons we will mention. So, the mu'allaqat. Also, from musnad we said it is muttasil marfu, connected. So we took out al-mu'allaqat. Marfu, on the authority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That which opposes it is mawquf and maqtu'. That which ends on the authority of the Sahaba or the Tabi'een. This statement is not a statement of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rather it is a statement of the Sahabi or the Tabi'i. So you will find mawqufat and maqtu'at in Sahih al-Bukhari, and these are also not upon his condition. He mentions them as an added benefit to explain some of the hadith, because from the madhab and from the religion of the Ahle-Hadith is that they follow the Quran and the Sunnah, or understand them according to how the Salaf, the Sahaba and the Tabi'in understood them and implemented them. So he will mention their positions and their rulings and fatwa as an added benefit to this ahadith. But no one can come and say that this mawquf, this hadith that he narrated on the Sahabi, it has a broken chain, so Imam Bukhari has da'if ahadith. No. This is outside the condition of Sahih. Understood? These he has mentioned for specific added benefits and reasons that someone cannot say that this opposes his condition of as-Sahih, authenticity. Understood? Yeah. The third, and we'll talk about it inshallah in detail also now, the third word in his title is as-Sahih. Al-Jami' al-Musnad as-Sahih. And this is the most important word in this title. And this is, as we said, Imam Bukhari is the first muhaddith, the first scholar of hadith who has compiled only authentic ahadith in a book. Before him, the scholars used to compile along with the authentic ahadith other types of ahadith, weak ahadith, other ahadith. Imam Bukhari is the one who has compiled only authentic ahadith. And does anyone know what is a Sahih hadith?
There's 5 conditions.
Ahsantum. Ahsantum. The conditions of authentic or acceptable hadith are 5. Only 5 conditions. If any hadith fulfills these 5 conditions, it will be an acceptable hadith. And if any from these conditions is not fulfilled, it will be a non-authentic hadith. It's as simple as that. These conditions are accepted upon amongst the scholars of hadith. Thus, the difference comes, you will find that one of the scholars of hadith says a hadith is sahih. The other one will say it is da'if. Why is that? This is not because they differ on these conditions. All of them accept that these conditions have to be present for a hadith to be authentic. And if any condition is left off or not present, it is not authentic. They are not in difference over this. The difference comes in fulfillment of these conditions of that hadith. Understood? So a scholar who says that that hadith is authentic, he says that it has fulfilled these conditions. And a scholar who says not authentic, he will find that it has not fulfilled one of the conditions, according to their ijtihad. This is the only difference. But these conditions, this ilm al-hadith, this condition are accepted upon. There's no differing in this. One cannot deem a hadith authentic, non-authentic, except by way of these conditions. If someone says that one can deem a hadith authentic by way of his intellect, by way of it appeals to him, it makes sense to him, this is all falsehood. There's no way. The science of hadith is based on isnad, on the chain of narration. There's no way a text, a hadith can be deemed authentic or non-authentic except by way of the isnad, except by way of fulfilling these conditions. It's as simple as that. That's the bottom line. So the conditions, as the brother mentioned, there are 5. Ittisalul isnad. The chain of narration has to be connected. Every person from the muhaddith or the person who has authored the book of hadith until the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has to have heard this hadith from the one above him or from his teacher, and him from his teacher until it reaches Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second and the third are related to the narrators themselves. This is related to the way the narrators narrated the hadith. The second and third are related to the narrators. Every narrator has to be adlun dabit. Adlun dabit. 2 conditions. They have to be present in every narrator, which is that he has to be adlun. He has to be righteous. He has to be he has to be trustworthy in his religion. He has to be righteous and trustworthy in his religion. The second is dabit. He has to be a memorizer of hadith. Someone who does not make mistakes in memorization. The fourth and the fifth condition are ash-shudhuz wal-illa. The hadith has to be free from ash-shudhuz and al-illa. As we mentioned, shudhuz, that there should be no opposition to someone that is a higher rank or greater in number, and illa, there should not be a hidden defect in the hadith. So if any hadith fulfills these 5 conditions, it is acceptable. It is accepted. Yes, the acceptable hadiths are of 2 types, sahih or hasan. This is going more in detail, the difference between sahih and hasan. But the conclusion is both sahih and hasan are acceptable and they are to be acted upon. The only difference in sahih and hasan is that sahih, the narrators are of the highest level of memorization, ad-dabit. When we mention ad-dabit, the narrators are the highest level of memorizers. They have rare mistakes. The ulama say nudra, nadiran yukhti, nadir. They have rare mistakes. In thousands of hadith, maybe they can make mistake in one hadith. So this is a sahih hadith. The hasan hadith is that in which the narrators are of a lower level in memorization than the thiqat. The thiqat are the ones who make mistakes rarely. And the hasan hadith are narrated by saduq. The narrators that are called saduq, they make more mistakes. They make more mistakes than the thiqat. So this hadith will be ruled upon as being hasan. And if the mistakes are more in number, then it will be da'if. Then it will be da'if. So these are the 5 conditions of sahih hadith.
What was the last one?
What
was the last one?
Al-illa, salamatu min al-illa. Meaning that it has to be free from hidden defects. And as I said, this is for the great huffaz and muhaddithin of this ummah. It is not for everybody. A small student of knowledge, small scholar of hadith can look at the isnad and say it is muttasil, it is connected, all the ruwat, all the rijal, all the narrators are thiqat, and it does not oppose any other hadith, he will say it's sahih. This is where you find the difference. It is sahih. But imam from the huffaz, he will come and find a hidden defect that this student of knowledge could not find. So this hadith will become mu'all, something that is non-authentic.
You mentioned that Sahih Bukhari has a lot of mu'allaqat,
Yeah.
which is hidden chains.
Yeah.
The chains that are hidden by...
Imam Bukhari himself.
So how can they be verified? That they are
We will mention, the scholars have just like Tabwibat al-Bukhari, they have authored books. The scholars have authored specific books on mu'allaqat of al-Bukhari. Mu'allaqat, to combine these chains, finding chains for these ahadith that Imam Bukhari hid.
Isn't it a contradictory, like the definition of being authentic is like
Yeah.
the chain of the narrator has to be connected.
Yeah.
But there are mu'allaqat.
Yeah, so as we said, when he says al-Jami', al-Musnad al-Sahih. So he's telling us that the Sahih Ahadith are the Musnad Ahadith. The Sahih Ahadith are the Musnad Ahadith that are connected.
Right.
And everything that he has mentioned that is not connected on purpose, then he's not to be held blame for. He has done it for a specific purpose. So they can be authentic and they can be non-authentic. The Sahih is the Musnad. You have to combine, look at it together. These are all his conditions together. One cannot take one word and hold him accountable for something he has not made as a condition. It has to be looked upon together. Understood?
So the chain that he hit,
Yeah.
so he perhaps...
We will mention it in detail. We'll mention it in detail. I always, and this is something the scholars recommend, that a student of knowledge should memorize the main books and mutun that he needs. The main books in every sciences, because as we said, the Muslims are people of memorization. Islamic sciences are based upon memorization. And the scholars, alhamdulillah, to make memorization easy for people like us, or in later generations, they found a way of al-manzumat. Speech is of two types, al-manthur and al-manzum. Manthur is written speech, the normal speech. Al-manzum is poetry, prose. And as everyone knows, memorizing something that rhymes is easier than that which does not rhyme. So the scholars use this way in composing poetry of books so that a student of knowledge can easily memorize and remember it. So from the books of sciences of hadith that every serious student of knowledge and student of hadith should memorize is Alfiyat al-Iraqi. Alfiyat al-Iraqi. Imam al-Iraqi, who is Zainuddin Abul Fadl Abdul Rahim ibn Hussein al-Iraqi, he was a sheikh and ustad and teacher of Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He was the ustad of Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, from a great muhaddithin. He passed away in the year 806 after the Hijrah. And Hafiz ibn Hajar passed away in the year 852, after him by almost 40 something years. So he has written a poetry in the science of hadith which is well known as al-Alfiyya. Alfiyya, as the brothers who know Arabic know, it means 1,000. Yeah. Meaning this poetry contains 1,000 lines of poetry. 1,000 proses, 1,000 lines of poetry. And the proper name of this book is at-Tabsira wa Tazkira. So this is a book that a serious student of hadith should memorize. And the one who properly studies this text, he will, inshallah, be from the serious and respected students in this field. And the scholars have explained this book. From them, Fathul Mughith. Alfiyya was authored by Hafiz ibn Hajar's sheikh, teacher, and it was explained by his student, by Ibn Hajar's student, As-Sakhawi, Imam al-Hafiz As-Sakhawi, who passed away in the year 902. He wrote a great book, Fathul Mughith bi Sharh Alfiyat al-Hadith. Fathul Mughith, in explanation of the Alfiyat of Iraqi, which is published in 5 volumes. So a student of knowledge, if he reads this book properly on a scholar of hadith, inshallah he will reach a great level in this science of hadith. So what does he mention in this poetry? As I said, it's easy to remember than normal speech. He says, وَأَهْلُ هَذَا الشَّأْنِ قَسَّمُوا السُّنَنِ إِلَى صَحِيحٍ وَضَعِيفٍ وَحَسَنٍ فَالْأَوَّلُ الْمُتَّصِلُ الْإِسْنَادِ بِنَقْلِ عَدْلٍ ضَابِطِ الْفُؤَادِ عن مثله من غير ما شذوذ وعلة قادحة فتوذي. So if someone were to memorize these 3 lines, he would have memorized these 5 conditions that we just mentioned in text form. So this is just a side benefit. So as I said, these are the...
What's the easiest sharh of Alfiya al-Iraqi for beginners?
He himself has written an explanation. Imam al-Iraqi, al-Hafiz al-Iraqi himself has an explanation, very brief notes, Sharh at-Tabsira wa Tazkira. It is printed. So it is a starting point. But Fathul Mughith it is considered the ending book in the science of hadith. If someone reads this book properly, understands it, is a scholar of hadith, inshallah he will reach a great level in this science. Very little will be left from this science after that. Sakhawi, Imam al-Sakhawi.
From the scholars of our time?
They have explained the book in audio form. We have attended their lectures. I don't know if anything is published. The scholars always explain this book. I don't know if anything is published. Yeah. So as I said, these are the 5 conditions of authentic hadith. So Imam Bukhari, the Sahih, the Musnad Ahadith in his book, it is not possible that there is any hadith that does not fulfill these 5 conditions. Any Musnad hadith that does not fulfill these 5 conditions. It is connected. The narrators are the highest level of memorizers and trustworthiness in the religion, and it does not oppose other ahadith, and it has no hidden defects. So there's no hadith except that it fulfills these conditions. And we want to give an example by which a person can understand why Imam Bukhari reached this level, and why the ulama and the ummah, the entire Islamic nation, agrees that this is the most authentic book after the book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. As we said, the books of Sahih are many. Sahih Muslim, Sahih Ibn Hibban, Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah, Mustadrak Hakim. Many scholars have written books trying to compile only authentic ahadith. So what differentiates Imam Bukhari from those people? They also have compiled authentic ahadith, and they all know about these conditions, don't they not? All of them know about these conditions. They are all united upon this. And they have narrated ahadith or compiled ahadith that fulfill these conditions. So what differentiates Imam Bukhari from them? Why is the ahadith of Imam Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari, the cream of the crop of authentic ahadith? All of them fulfill these conditions. The ahadith, are the authentic ahadith just in Sahih al-Bukhari? No, we will mention that when the next word comes, al-Mukhtasar. There are many authentic ahadith outside of Sahih al-Bukhari. But why is Sahih al-Bukhari considered the cream of the crop? They are the highest level of authentic ahadith.
Very specific with narrators.
Exactly, ahsantum. He has a condition in narrators that none of the ulama after him have. As we said, the ulama, they will accept a hadith of a thiqa rawi, that he has very rare mistakes, which fulfills the condition here. Adlun tabit. He is trustworthy in religion, and he's a memorizer who has very rare mistakes. Imam Bukhari goes a level further. Imam Bukhari goes a level further than this. And we'll give an example so that a person can understand it. From the great muhaddithin of this ummah is Imam al-Zuhri. Imam al-Zuhri, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he was from the Aimma of the Tabi'een. He passed away in the year 124 after the Hijrah, 124. And he is from the narrators of hadith about which are called alayhi tadur al-asanid. That many of the asanid, they come and meet with or meet on az-Zuhri. And there are only very few narrators that have been described as such. That the asanid, they circle around him. That several asanid, they meet with Imam al-Zuhri. From them are other, like Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i, rahimahullah. And other than them are also mentioned. So, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, as we said, he was a great muhaddith. He had thousands of students, countless students. So the scholars, they divide their students in various levels, tabaqat. Various levels, tabaqa, levels. Okay? So the first tabaqa, the highest of his students are the thiqat. They are those who do not, they are memorizers, they have very rare mistakes, as we said. But in addition to it, there are those who have spent a long time with Imam al-Zuhri. They are memorizers that have very few mistakes, very rare mistakes, thiqat. But in addition to this, there are those who have spent a long time with Imam al-Zuhri in his travels, in his city. They have always been with him. Understood? So they are more in knowledge of the hadith of Zuhri than other narrators. This is the first tabaka, first level. The second level are the thiqat, those narrators that are memorizers who are very rare mistakes, just like the first one. But the only difference is they have not spent a long time with Imam az-Zuhri. They have come and heard from him a sitting, 2 sittings, 10 sittings, but they have not spent years and years with him in his travels and his home, being with him. Imam Bukhari, he only selected the ahadith of the first tabaqah.
Who have spent the most time.
The most time. The most time. In addition to them being thiqat, memorizers who do not make mistakes except rarely, which is a condition of every Sahih Hadith, he has additional condition that he only took the hadith that has spent the most time with his teacher, with his scholar, like in the example of Imam Zuhri, the first tabaqah. Imam Muslim, as will come, his majority of his ahadith are the second tabaqah, the second level. There are thiqat, memorizers that don't make mistakes except rarely, but they have not spent years and years with Imam az-Zuhri. This is also authentic hadith without a doubt, but it is levels. Understood? So this gives an idea, or it paints a picture of why Imam Sahih Bukhari is considered the most authentic book after the book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. He has a condition in the narrators that no one has. Understood? So he has only narrated the ahadith that he is certain that there is no mistake or error in them, and the ulama have accepted this from him.
So all the ahadith in Sahih Bukhari, in the chain of the narrators,
Yeah.
we have Imam Shihab az-Zuhri.
No. We just give an example with Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. Every narrator that is in the chain of al-Bukhari, Imam Bukhari, tries to narrate that hadith if he has it on his students that have been the most, that have spent a long time with him.
Right.
And those ahadith that he could not find, he left it off. As we said, he has memorized 100,000 Sahih hadith or asanid, but he didn't put everything in his book.
Right. But wouldn't that make Imam Shihab az-Zuhri the narrator? Because let's say if you are the teacher,
Yeah.
and I'm coming here,
Yeah.
I hear something from you,
Yeah.
then in the chain that I would write
Yeah.
write your name.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't,
So, for example, you are here and you heard from me,
right.
and you wrote it or you memorized it. The brother behind you, he is also here, heard it, memorized it. You came for this sitting and you left. The brother has been with me for years, decades, and he'll remain with me. So Imam Bukhari will select his hadith because the one who has spent the most time with his teacher, he knows the way he speaks, how his ahadith are. He is more in knowledge of his ahadith than the one who came for one sitting. This guy who came, you for example, came for one sitting, maybe you might have mistaken in your memorization. Maybe you might have made a mistake in writing. The one who has sitting for decades, he knows the way of the teacher, how he speaks, how he talks, so he can find those mistakes that you cannot. I mean, there's no comparison between one who spends with someone years and decades and one who has sat with him for a few hours. I mean, this is something that is everyone can understand. The person who has sat with someone for years, decades, he knows everything about him. He knows every aspect about him, how he speaks, how he acts. The one who has come for a few hours might just see the apparent. None.
This condition applies to all the teachers or all the people that he learned the hadith from.
That's what I said. He tries, his main condition is that to narrate a hadith with this condition, the highest of conditions. But of course, we don't want to go into detail. I mean, science is an ocean. He might sometimes also narrate for the second level, like Imam Muslim. But there are specific reasons, but as we said, they're extremely rare. They're extremely rare. Yeah.
So can we say that there are like 6 of these narrators around whom like most
No, I mean, we can't say with number, but some ulama have tried to mention them, like Imam Ali ibn al-Madini, the great Imam and Hafiz, the Imam of al-Ilal. He has a book, al-Ilal, the book by this science. It is published. Sadly, it also, only a small part of it has reached us. Most of it is lost. Only a small part has reached us and it is published. In that he begins that book by saying that the isnad, it circles around 6 Sahaba. And they're the ones who narrated the most. Most ahadith you will find from their narration. Then he mentioned their students were 6, and their students were 6. Example. But of course, we cannot say that these are only the 6 narrators that are the ones upon whom the Sunnah revolves around. No. But of course, there's no doubt that some narrators have narrated much more than others. Even from the Sahaba, some Abu Huraira, he cannot be compared in volume of his narrations with other Sahaba. So this is something very understandable. So with this, also we'll just finish off with saying the mu'allaqat, that why would Imam Bukhari mention mu'allaqat? The mu'allaqat are of 2 types. There are mu'allaqat in Sahih al-Bukhari that Imam Bukhari himself have narrated with a connected chain in other parts of his book. And a mu'allaq, you might find it in this chapter or in this place, but the same hadith he has narrated with a continuous chain in other place. And this is the majority. The majority of the mu'allaqat he has narrated with a continuous chain in other parts of his book. So, and the remaining mu'allaqat are the ones that he has not narrated with a continuous chain in other parts of his book. So we ask, if he has narrated this mu'allaq in a continuous chain of narration in other part of his book, why would he narrate it in mu'allaq huna? He has a continuous chain, does he not? I mean, if he has mentioned a continuous chain in another part of the section of the book, that means he has a continuous chain. So why would he hide his shaykh or the one above it or the one above until the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Why would he mention it mu'allaq huna here? Huh? And it connects to Mukhtasar.
Maybe it's not that strong.
No.
To prove the point that you mentioned that we take our deen also from like a specific sahabas, like from the Salaf or scholars.
The answer is that from the way of the muhaddithin, and this is something you will find with them a lot, and you will find in other books that we'll talk about. They did not like repetition, repeating the same thing over and over again. This was disliked amongst them. They would not repeat a hadith except if there's added benefit in it. This was necessary for them. So a hadith Imam Bukhari narrates in one chapter because it has several sentences. So he mentioned in a specific chapter based on a few words in that hadith. If he was to narrate the same hadith in another chapter based on another part of the hadith that coincides with that chapter, he needs to have something that differentiates it. So either he would narrate it on another shaykh he heard that hadith from. And in the first, he would narrate it on one shaykh. In the second instance, he would narrate it on another shaykh. There has to be a difference. There's a difference in the isnad. He heard it from another shaykh, or that shaykh heard it from another shaykh. The hadith is the same, but because of this difference, he would mention it in 2 places. Or there's a difference in the text. There's an addition of a word. There's an addition of a word or a subtraction of a word. So for this difference, he would narrate both ahadith, musnad, connected chain. But if he was to use a hadith in a specific part of his book based on the fiqh that is present in it there, and it has another fiqh that he needs in another chapter, but he didn't heard it from another shaykh, there's no difference in his words, so to differentiate, he would hide someone from the chain of narration. He would hide someone from the chain of narration because the muhaddithin disliked repetition. And this is something you'll find a lot. For them to repeat something, it must have had added benefit. Either in the chain of narration there's a difference, or in the wording there's a difference. And if there's no way, there's no change in the chain of narration, there's no change in the wording, he would make it mu'allaq. This is something he thought of. This is from his genius, intelligence, mu'allaqat.
In present time, we sometimes we use abbreviations. Like if we don't want
Yeah.
to repeat something, we just say number.
Yeah, I got it.
At the bottom we say.
I got it. A, B, Fulan. Yeah.
So it comes to the same.
I guess. I mean, we don't want to compare it to what we know, but this is the methodology. So the mu'allaq that he has in one part, it is found connected in another part. That's one category, and this is no problem. This is hadith that is sahih on the condition of Imam Bukhari. Even though he has mentioned mu'allaq in one part, as long as it is connected in another part, it is on the condition of Imam al-Bukhari, the highest level of sahih, authenticity. Now we come to the second part, which is the ahadith that are mu'allaq in Bukhari, and we do not find it connected in other parts of Bukhari. He has just mentioned this hadith mu'allaq in his sahih, that's it. He has hidden a chain, a person from the chain of narration or more, and it is not connected. So this category, the scholars have given special attention to this category, and they have authored several books in connecting these mu'allaqat, in finding the chains of narrations of these ahadith from other books of ahadith. So from the most famous of these books is the book Taghliq at-Ta'liq. Taghliq at-Ta'liq of Imam al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he has a book, Taghliq at-Ta'liq. Yani closing that which is open. Ta'liq is, there's a break, there's openness. So closing that which is connecting that which is broken. Taghliq at-Ta'liq, which is a great book in which one can see the great level that Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani reached in sciences of hadith. So in this book, he's connected these mu'allaqat. He narrated them with chains of narrations and connected these mu'allaqat. And as we said, these mu'allaqat in Imam al-Bukhari that he has not connected in other parts, they have no special position because they are mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari. They are just like any other ahadith. If they are found to be connected and the chains of narration, the narrators are authentic, we will say it's sahih. And if they are found to be broken or the chains of narrators are not authentic, we will say they are da'if. They have no speciality because these mu'allaqat are in Bukhari. As long as Imam Bukhari has not mentioned them himself with a connected chain. And this is what Ibn Hajar has done in his book. He has connected them, and a lot of them are sahih, and some of them he has ruled upon them by being da'if. And as he said, this is outside of the condition of Imam al-Bukhari. Al-Musnad al-Sahih. As long as these are not Musnad, they are not upon the condition of Sahih. They can be Sahih, they can be not Sahih, and Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, cannot be held accountable or blamed for these mu'allaqat. And I guess we'll stop here, and we'll continue inshallah after the break with the fourth word in his title, which is al-Mukhtasar.